What's up, guys? The point of this video is to show you what I do for my mobility for my upper body. I typically do this on my bench press days and on my overhead press days. I'm just going to show you a couple of the techniques that I use and a couple of different items that I use to kind of free up some of those muscles in my back and my chest. So the first item I use is a foam roller, very common. Lots of people use this for myofascial release. Basically what it is, in your muscles as they get tight, you have tiny little adhesions, and the idea is with this trigger point therapy you can free up those adhesions and get some relief from that. The next thing that I use is either a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. You can get either of these at any sporting goods store. The tennis ball is a little bit softer, so for different areas you might want to use the tennis ball, and for different areas you might want to use the lacrosse ball. For example, if an area is super tight, I would recommend using the tennis ball first, rolling it out, and then advancing to the lacrosse ball. So the next thing I use is just a light resistance band. You can get these in sporting goods stores, I think, or if you don't have any near you, I think if you go to any physical therapy clinic, they wouldn't have a problem giving you, just cutting you a piece of a band. Maybe they'll sell it to you for like $3, $5 for a yard or something like that. So they're not too expensive. Or if you know any physical therapists or anyone that works in a PT office, maybe in the front desk or as a tech or an aide, just ask them. I'm sure they'd be happy to cut you a piece. And what I use it for is I'll show you what I use it for actually later in the video, but it does help me kind of work through my range of motion and open up some of my muscles, so stay tuned for that. So I typically start out with the foam roller first. What I do is I like to roll out my back, specifically my thoracic spine, my cervical spine, and my lats a little bit, and I'm going to show you how to do that, or how I like to do it. So you just kind of lay on it. Once you find a spot that's kind of tight, you're just going to kind of hold it there for 10 seconds. And then slowly roll through it. So I do this specifically for my thoracic spine, for the extensor muscles in your back. Just kind of loosening them up because you're standing around all day long, they're going to get tight. And then I'll kind of work this around to different parts of my back. And then once I'm done with that, I'll just roll like that. You probably can't hear, but there's some cracking going on. And the next thing I like to do is to open up kind of this area, your chest muscles, your neck muscles, is lay on the actual foam roller. This works better with a longer foam roller, this is a 13-inch, but for something that's a little bit longer, maybe a 26-inch, or like the typical ones that you said are usually longer, it works better. But this is what I got, so I'm gonna use this. This one works fine. It's just a little bit small. So you just lay it like that, vertically, hot dog style. Kind of get a groove right at the base of your neck. So where it'll go right there. And then just put your arms up in a Y, like you're doing the Y from the YMCA song. I'm just gonna hang out, relax your neck. Breathe nice and deep. And there's no set time period for any of these stretches. It's pretty much just however long you feel is good enough to feel the stretch to where you feel like you're ready to perform. And after the Y's, I'll just do out like this, like a T. And then I'll also go up like that, like an I. And the last thing I'll do is I'll kind of bend my arms at 90 degrees and just let that relax, and this is where I really feel it pretty bad. This is also good for your posture too, so I recommend doing this even if you're not about to go work out, because a lot of us have pretty terrible posture. So the next thing I like to do is with the tennis ball, just a more localized myofascial release, just to work in those tiny little muscles that the foam roller can't necessarily hit. And I'm going to show you how I do it. So I put the ball down and just kind of lay back on it. And I really like to use this for my rear delts. And so once you get to a good spot, you're just going to hold that there for about 10-15 seconds and then move around. I like to use the tennis ball for my rear delts because they are super tight and they're a tiny muscle. I feel like it'll kind of pulverize them if I use a lacrosse ball. But for my upper traps and my lower traps and middle traps, I do prefer the lacrosse ball because it's a bigger muscle, it's a stronger muscle, and it can usually handle that. My traps aren't usually as tight as my rear delts are. Another common thing that you might have seen used is something called the peanut, and usually what it is a lacrosse ball, a pair of lacrosse balls, or a pair of tennis balls, and you'll tape them together, and the idea is to roll them all along your spine. So if you take a look at this model here, you have your spine, your vertebrae. What you have is tiny muscles that, well, not tiny muscles, but long muscles that kind of stretch all the way up to the cervical spine and down your back. And if you're using the peanut, basically what it's doing is just rolling. You can use it to roll down and free up the little muscle knots in those extensor muscles, in your erector spinae, your longissimus, just like that. And the last thing that I do is with the resistance band, I like to take it like this and just go, what I call, or what a lot of people call, is around the worlds. Just kind of go like this each way. You get a nice stretch in your lats, a nice stretch in your chest. And you can work it around. So sometimes when I'm warming up for the bench press, I'll even do the around the worlds as I'm warming up. So you walk up to the bench press, you do the bar, 45 pounds, 10, 15, 20 times, get nice and warm. Then I'll jump right into this with the band, doing the around the worlds. And then I'll go back into another warm-up set. And then gradually, as I'm ready, I'll ditch the band and I'll get into my bench press work. So those are just some of the things that I like to do before I hit a bench press session or an overhead press session. I feel like it really warms me up and kind of gets through those muscle knots and preps me for, you know, the intense lifts that I'm about to have. I hope this video has been informative, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.